guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber and I'm a little bit late with this, but today I will be starting my weekly wrap up where I go to other books that I've read and I'm currently reading, and if there is to be a TBR. This week there will not be a TBR because we are a little bit late, so I'm already in the middle of what I'm reading for the most part. I'm going to talk about my TBR first just because this week has been quite a mess when it comes to how I wanted to work my reading for each week. So I can't talk about it right now. Maybe next week I will. And hopefully by next week things will be more on track for my reading. But something happened. I was hoping I wouldn't have to deal with it, but I do. So I'm kind of like I just got stuck in a situation where I don't feel like I have the energy to read as much as I would, and I don't really want to lose my momentum with this. I'm like really frustrated about it, but I decided that I'll just continue with 2 books. One being a thing that I don't feel like I need to put too much energy in, considering how many times I read the series, and then a book from the library that I got on hold finally and really want to read. So I'm just gonna quickly talk about that. So we already know one book I've read because I wouldn't be on this one. So I finished The Prisoner of Azkaban, and we all know that I love that book. And I've continued on with Goblet of the Fire. I think I really would like to be on Order of the Phoenix rather than this one at the moment. Because we're getting really close to when Harry's name comes out of the goblet and Ron's, attitude issue towards him because of it. Like, I understand, but it makes me more anxious, and I don't need to be anxious right now. So what I'm planning to do tomorrow, which is Sunday, I plan to try to read this in one go throughout the day, just because I really just want to be done with it. And then I'm going to focus on the other book for the rest of the week until Wednesday. And hopefully by Wednesday I will have finished that book. And then I'm thinking that I probably will still end up reading only 2 books in the coming week. And then hopefully, would that be the last week? If it's the last week, hopefully the last week of the month I will go back to my typical reading amount. But either way, I will be listening to this. I have already looked through all the illustrations, and this good amount until we get to Hogwarts, the illustrations are a pretty good amount. But then as we get further on, the illustrations becomes less and less, which really pisses me off because we're paying good money for these illustrated editions. If you paid full price for this, you're paying about very close to $50, if not over. And we who are already fans, if you are buying these books, I'm pretty sure, 99% sure, that you've already read and loved the books themselves, and you're buying these ones because of the illustrations, because they're supposed to be illustrated. So the fact that they just really skimmed us and basically ripped us off on that really pisses me off, because that's a lot of money being spent on these. And I'm going to actually look through the book before I buy the next one, and if it's as bad as this one, I'm not going to spend my money on it anymore. I'm sorry, I really want to keep on, but this was really disappointing to me how little illustrations there were. And it's why couldn't they have made it bigger? There could have been so many more pages. It's not even as hefty as I thought it was going to be. And if you can imagine how little illustrations there are in this one, you can imagine how even littler, I know that's not right, how even less of illustrations we're going to get with Order of Things, which is a bigger book than Goblet of Fire is. So I'm already in the pissy mood about it because I'm just I have a lot of money being spent on these books, and I don't think it's really fair. But anyways, moving on. Woo! I don't think I mentioned this in my previous wrap up, but one of my goals for the coming year is I've chosen 3 series that I want to work throughout the year, and it's just that I've never been one of those people, either I don't start a series, I really want to read these series, but I don't ever get to them because I'm just I could be reading so many other books that don't have series and be all that, or I just don't have the energy, or I never finish them, or whatever. So I just really wanted to make it a goal to try to get through these books. And the first book that the first series that I have started, and it's on my list, is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. Trying to be vague. I think I'll just read the synopsis because it's simple, it's not that long, and I don't want to like spoil anything. So this is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the Great Red Rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and where there is no mercy. So, right now, I am 138 pages into it. Absolutely loving the writing and the story and characters. What was I gonna say? I just totally lost my dream. So I've basically been just reading this because I have my day like kind of like completely screwed up because of this. So like I've been using that to read during breaks and stuff. So there's that one. Absolutely loving it so far, and I'm just excited to continue on with that. And then in the previous one, I said that I was reading the Fellowship of the Ring. Or that I finished the Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, I can't remember. Oh no, because I was doing my TBR. So okay. So, I finished the Fellowship of the Ring, the first part, and I'm supposed to be working on the Two Towers. But because, like I said, this whole week of events has screwed everything up, and I really don't have the energy to be reading, like, dense, heavy books right now. I just chose to hold off on this, which is really frustrating because I really didn't want to be reading this for, like, a long age, but it is what it is. I tried to keep on with this even after, and I just couldn't. And it's a reread, so I will know where I'm at with this. I hope. Shoot. What? I don't know where I'm at with this book. Okay, I am. Theoden. What? Oh, that's what I'm way farther than I'm at. Okay. Anyways, what I do know. Okay, yeah, now I know where we are. Where I'm at. I'm in the middle of chapter 4. I don't know how I. Anyways, where Pippin and Merry meet Treebeard. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it, but I probably won't start it back up. Maybe instead of reading Order of the Phoenix, I will read the second part and finish the Two Towers instead. We shall see if I have the energy for all of that. Again, this week is quite a mess. But let's talk about the past week and what I've actually read and finished. This is why I'm really upset about how dismissive I'm reading, because I did so well. I have read 5 books. Okay, that is amazing considering the fact that I have not read barely anything for the past 6 months other than rereads. It's a miracle, I tell you, for me to be reading that much, and doing it satisfactorily. And there's only one book on this list that has gotten like a major negative rating for it. So yeah, I'm gonna just go off in the order that I finished the books. So the first book that I read, I actually scribed for, and that is Down Among the Sticks and Bones, the second novella in the Wayward Children series by Shona McGuire. This one, we are reintroduced to a character that we meet in the first novella, Jack, and her sister Jill, and we see their backstory and start to understand more about certain things about them that weren't very clear, or we just wanted to know more about from certain events that happened in the first book. And I really loved this one as much, if not more, than the first one, because I really loved Jack in the first novella, and I just felt for her even more in this one. She's such a great character, and I just felt for her so much throughout this book. So if you do not know, the Wayward Children series deals with children who have gone into different worlds. Think like Narnia, Wizard of Oz, those kind of stories where the children end up in these worlds, but in those books you only see their adventure. This one takes on the idea of what happens to them after. Especially the first one deals with that one, but this one, in this book, we are seeing Jack and Jill in the world that they entered, and it's kind of like a cause and effect thing. Like, we saw the effect of the world on them in the previous book, and now we're seeing the cause for why, for the effect. So I just felt like it was wonderful. It really helped build up more of the reason, and I just feel so much for Jack there, and the writing is just so beautiful. So it gets 5 stars, and I give the credit goes all to the Every Heart a Doorway for getting me back into reading. I really thought when I started this one I was going to stop reading fully and that I would never read again, because it just really seemed like that was the way it was going to happen. I've never felt that way before, and it was really scary for me, but thankfully it did not happen, and I give credit to this series, so it's always gonna be, I feel, a favorite thing for me. So 5 stars, love it so much, and I'm hoping that either the last week or the beginning of February I will get back into the last 2 books before the 5th book comes out. So Noodle, stop, it's not yours. So the next book that I read is the DNF, the negative, the one I just talked about that I didn't like, and that is Triumph of Katie Byrne by Barbara Taylor Bradford. So I borrowed like a whole bunch of books in the middle of that first week of January, and this was one of the books that I picked up to try. What I'm calling these library books are my buy books, because they're not ones that I'm putting effort into finishing in a week's time. If I do, that's great. But if I don't, it's not a big deal for me. So these do not have priority. But I picked up this one first, and I wish I hadn't. But this one starts off the story. The protagonist, of course, is Katie Byrne, who's at the beginning 17 years old. Her and her 2 best friends have dreams to be Broadway actresses, and that the day that this story begins, they're practicing for a play that they're part of in their high school. And she goes home but finds out that she left something back where they were practicing. And so she and her brother go, and they end up finding her 2 best friends having been attacked. Denise has been killed, and what's the other one's name? Carly is unconscious, and we find out that she is in a coma. And we jump, after all of that kind of plays out, we jump 10 years to seeing Katie establishing her career as an actress and starting a relationship with someone, but her past keeps haunting her. Now, if you're expecting this to be a mystery, which I expected it to be myself, just because there's this whole mystery, and her past keeps haunting, so you're thinking, she's going to try to figure out what happened to her 2 best friends, and to try to like get rid of the past from her. And that's what I thought was the reason why I was haunting her, because the case never got resolved. But apparently that's never happened. I DNF'd this like 50 pages in, and I did skim through some of the rest of the book just to see where it was going, but it just seems like the memories haunting her, and they just keep rehashing it. So I just didn't really care for that. But I can't say, but that does not really affect the reason for why um it doesn't have any impact on the reason why I DNF'd this book, because the reason why I DNF'd this is the writing is atrocious. I did not care for the dialogue, which was so unrealistic, especially with the way Katie talks with her mom. It's just, she's 17 years old. She is not a little kid. If she was like a little kid, I'd probably be more understanding towards it. But otherwise, it just, if a kid acted that way, you would think that she was trying to get something out of the mom instead of her just gushing over her mom. Like, it didn't come out as realistic the way that she did that. Also, this author made Katie's life so perfect. Like, nothing was wrong with her life. And I get where she was going with that. Like, she was trying to like emphasize the fact that her two best friends' attacks really affected her because she never had that happen to her before. Like, there was nothing really bad that happened to her life, so it would affect her in a big way. But again, it's still unrealistic that her life had not even in the smallest way, imperfections. Like, you can go through your life and have like a pretty good life and not think that anything negative has really happened to your life, but there's always something there. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect life. You can have a good family and you can have a good life, but there's, even then, I've heard people say, like, just because I have what seemed like a perfect life does not mean that my life was perfect. And that's what I'm saying. And she didn't, like, make it like that. Like, it was just her saying, like, my life was 100% perfect. Nothing wrong at all. And I can never buy that, no matter what. I also found that there was a small immigration story. Like, we get a perspective of the mom, which I felt was completely unnecessary to the story at all. But in that perspective, we hear about how her mom immigrates from Ireland, and it happened in the 60s. So maybe things were different. But it seems unrealistic that 5 seconds after you get off the boat, you and your whole family get well-paying jobs. That is 100% unrealistic, no matter what. You'd either have to be rich or had gotten these jobs beforehand or something. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem realistic from how I've heard about immigration stories. And even though they're white and everything, you're coming to a new country where nobody knows you, you don't know anybody. It just doesn't seem realistic that you would be able to get a job. You know what I mean? So, especially a well-paying job right off the bat. So it just rubs me the wrong way. I also didn't really appreciate how she compared her and her two best friends. Like, the two best friends didn't have good lives, and it just felt like they were, like, she was just making them throwaway characters because of that. Like, well, it's okay that they got attacked or something. It just left a bad taste in my mouth because she was comparing them so much to Katie, who had this perfect life, and they're the ones that got attacked. And so I'm just like, I don't know really how to express what left me a bad taste. It just didn't feel right to me. So this book was really bad. I will never try another Bradford book again. So DNF, wouldn't bother with that book at all. And then the next book was a little bit better, and that was The Lowland by Jumbo Lee Harry. And this one, we meet two brothers, Subhash and Udayan, who are 15 months apart. Subhash is the oldest, and Udayan finds himself attracted to the next slave movement in the 60s, which is a rebellion waged to eradicate iniquity and poverty, and he would give anything for it. It leans towards violence to get their point across, and Udayan, on the other hand, does not share his political passion. He goes to Rhode Island to study, to pursue scientific research, and while he's there, establishing his life there, he finds out something tragic happened to Udayan, and he goes back to India to help his family out and also the wife that Udayan left behind. Now, I really struggled for maybe the first 50 to 100 pages because I just couldn't establish what the story was supposed to be about. So or where the story was going, really. And I just really wasn't enjoying Udayan at all. Udayan is the most selfish. Like, he does not think about his family at all. Everything that he does is only to gain. Like, he thinks that this movement is a good movement, and like trying to eradicate iniquity and poverty, like that I get, but there's a way of doing that without hurting your family along the way. And yeah, sometimes you're going to even hurt your family even when you do it the best that you possibly can, but he didn't even care. Like, he even says that basically, and he's just a hateful person. Like, I like, he just kind of ruins his whole family's lives, and I didn't like how the book ended because we end with Udayan, and I'm just like, why do we have to end like that? Because I really didn't care. Like, I really did not care. But once the story got established, and thankfully we deal with Subash's story more than anything, I was able to get into it. But I will say that I was listening to a lot of this mainly because I couldn't deal with a certain thing that was a negative to me, is that she does not use quotation marks, which is completely lazy on the part of the author. I don't want to be like too harsh on this, and I don't want to come off as being rude, but I just find it completely lazy that you don't put quotation marks in when you're writing a book, because I had a hard time being able to to realize, like, okay, oh, someone's actually talking, like, whoops, didn't realize that. And sometimes if you don't put quotation marks, you don't even know who's talking sometimes. So it was just really frustrating to be trying to follow along with it. Her writing style is really good, but I did not appreciate that. Like, I get that she was thinking it was like a stylization thing, but it really didn't come off that way at all to me. It was just, like I said, an act of laziness on the part of the author, in my opinion. I also gave this 3 stars because I just couldn't really connect with the characters as much as I was hoping for. I do feel like I have to reread this just because I feel like I was kind of distracted from it at the beginning, and maybe if I read it again, I would maybe enjoy it a little bit better, get something more out of it, but I don't know. I just didn't connect as much as I was hoping. So again, 3 stars for that. And then the last book that I finished in the past week is The Dry by Jane Harper. This is 1 out of 2 books that deal with who has in the Aaron Falk books. I thought that there was going to be more. I'm a little bit disappointed that there isn't, but it's okay. So this is an introduction to federal agent Aaron Falk, who 20 years ago, him and his father were run out of their hometown because of something that he didn't do, and everybody just assumed that he had to have done it. And he never planned to go back, but he finds out that his childhood best friend, Luke Hedler, has been killed, and he still was reluctant to even go back even after that. But he gets a note saying that he and Luke lied and that he had to be at the funeral. So he reluctantly heads back to his hometown. And when he gets there, the parents of Luke Hedler ask him to look into his death. They don't believe they don't believe the explanation that the police had given as to what happened, and they want him to figure out the truth. So throughout him figuring out, trying to help the parents, he's also trying to come to terms with his past and having to deal with these shitty people. So, I absolutely love the writing. It was so refreshing to be able to get into a mystery novel and not have the romance be so prominent in the narrative, which again, it's just so refreshing. It's something that I have not seen for a long time in these kind of books. So it's just so nice. And I really enjoyed the story. Now, I do feel that the overarching mystery of Luke Hadler's death was lacking a lot of times. Like throughout the book, I felt like the focus is not where I feel like it should be completely, but at the same time it didn't really matter to me. It was also like one of those lightning strike, all of a sudden you know who did it kind of moments in the very like last bit right here, and everything happens like a snap of a fingers kind of a thing, which is usually very frustrating to me. It wasn't as frustrating to me because even though the story didn't focus on that, it focused on Falk's past, and it felt like the author was more interested in that, and I was more interested in his past too, and trying to figure out what really happened to that person really, and why does everybody believe that Luke did it. And it was just a really great character building story when it comes to that. So it does get 4 stars because, again, the overarching mystery of the book didn't really tie in with everything else very closely. Like, I understand that he thought that maybe his past was part of the reason, but it didn't really feel cohesive, and it didn't really feel like it connected with it really well. But again, it gets 4 stars because it was really good in that aspect of the story, and I'm a little bit more forgiving just because I really enjoyed the reading experience of this book. So that is everything that I have read and I'm currently reading. Hopefully by the end of this month I will be back to the reading pace that I was in this first week of January, because I just cannot deal with being in my rut again. I just want to keep going with reading. So hopefully that will be what happens. I would love to I would love to hear if you've read any of these books. What did you think of them? And thank you so much for watching. Until next time.